Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesdays. I'm your host, Paula Taylor, and this is episode 67. So just a brief announcement before we start tonight. I've mentioned the dimensional frequency expansion classes for the last couple of weeks now. The first one is actually full, but we will be having another in-person class probably in December here in Tucson. And then I'll be doing the same class on Zoom hopefully in November and then maybe again in December. So if you want updates on that, I'll keep updating you here on Facebook. You can also go to my website, which is paulataylorenergy.com, and then subscribe. I'm going to send out probably a few more communications than I usually do just to communicate when these classes are happening. And again, you can also keep an eye on Facebook here. So I don't know about you, but I have had a stressful day, like all capital letters, stressful. So my intention for tonight is to try to get into the meditation a little more quickly than we usually do. I keep saying I'm going to do one of these without notes, and I have the barest bones. I'm not going to say I have nothing, but I don't have much in the way of notes to help me tonight. And I really need this meditation. So we're going to get into it quickly. I'm already at a loss for words. It's because I don't have them written down. Just kidding. So this week we're going to talk about moving from fear back into flow. And I want to tell you how this topic came to me. It started actually last week. So last week during the meditation, I started us with a really good grounding sort of breathing exercise. I should say I channeled because I usually am channeling. But what happened to me last week is that I got so into flow and so connected to those dimensional frequency beings that I actually felt like I was in an altered state. And when I got to the part of the meditation where I was making sound, I felt like I was not making the sound. I felt like the sound was coming through me from this dimensional frequency, from these beings. And it was really awesome. And it scared the crap out of me, to be completely honest. So when I finished the meditation, I think I maybe should have sat for a little bit, but I usually, I'm living life. So I do this show, I go back out, my husband and I have dinner. So I went back out into the rest of my normal life, and I felt really disoriented. I felt I was definitely in like an altered state, and it scared me. And so what I did was I kind of put it to the side, which you'll recognize if you've watched the show it's kind of a pattern I have. That's a pattern most of us had. I had to go into my medical job the next day for like 4 days straight. So I just kind of put it aside and was like, okay, I'll deal with that. But what happened was, you can't fool your body. We've talked about that before. Your body will betray you. If you're, and actually it doesn't betray you. Your body will betray your ego mind. I should put it that way, because your body is truth. Your body is expressing the truth of what you're living, whether you like it or not. So what happened was that I started getting more and more out of this nice, easeful flow that I've been in, and the anxiety started creeping back in. And I didn't connect the two at first. And you'll recognize that's a common theme too. And so what happened was I would recognize it and be like, oh, I wonder if this is related to that fear I had after I was in that really deep state of channeling. I'll come back to this because I didn't really have time, and I was afraid. So there was a little bit of, we can always tell ourselves, we distract ourselves. Like I could have found the time, I could have sat after work in meditation, which is what I ended up having to do. So long story short, I went to the grocery store. I think that was like Sunday. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I just was so anxious feeling, and every little sound was making me jump. And I haven't felt that way for so long that it was kind of the wake up call I needed. That was like, oh, this is not okay. I am not in ease. I need to get back in ease. I need to get back in flow. I need to look at this fear. I need to process this fear and get back to where I can feel easeful again, where I can feel in flow. And luckily, I have a lot of spiritual tools. So I came home, I did some gentle, intentional movement to kind of move the energy to like settle the energy. I did some sound, I did some meditation, and I was able to come back into flow. And I was able to process the feelings around kind of being outside of myself, because I talk really often about the ego. You know, the ego is the fearful part of us. And the ego the ego wants to be in control. Control is an illusion. We talk about that really frequently. But the ego wants that illusion. The ego wants you to believe that it is in control, that you are in control. And so when you do something so expansive that you really step outside the ego for any extended period, the ego kind of gets stirred up. The ego's like, oh, what's happening here? And it's natural. You know, we ultimately, our greatest fear is the fear of death, of that ego death, and the physical death, of course, but it's really the ego death. And if you do a lot of spiritual work, once you get really connected, you start to really feel and recognize that spiritual essence is going to go on. So the fear of death is really this fear of the ego death. So when I allowed myself to be completely clear and expanded, to be a very clear vessel, to channel this beautiful energy, and that's the thing, this is a beautiful energy. This is a safe energy. This is a loving energy. This is just another facet of that divine energy that we're always talking about and working with. So when I allowed myself to become a very clear channel for that, to the point that my conscious mind sort of was completely emptied, it stirred up a lot of fear, but it was also amazing. And so I had to process through the fear to get back to the idea that stepping into flow is never a mistake. Every time I've ever stepped into flow in my life, I have never regretted it. I have absolutely been out of my comfort zone, and we talked about that leap of faith process. So I came back to kind of the steps of that. You know, stepping into flow, for most of us, we spend our entire lives gripping. I absolutely have. And we spend our entire lives in this state of at least low level fight, flight, or freeze, and that sympathetic response. And it really hit me when I went to the store, because that's how I felt all the time for years when I was in a public place. Like I was just constantly being assaulted by noises, by feelings, by energies, by sights. You know, it just was very overwhelming. And working with these dimensional frequencies, and especially that emerald frequency, has really opened me up so that I've got this constant flow, and that stuff doesn't even get to me anymore usually. And what a gift. I said last week that this work has real world applications. What better application could you ask for than living an easeful, relaxed life, than being in a super stressful situation like I have been today, and still being able to step back into ease, back into flow, recognizing that, yes, the emotions are there. I'm going to process the emotions. I'm going to live through whatever is happening to me right now that's causing this stress. But I don't have to do it in a state of anxiety, in a state of sympathetic response. I know how to bring my body back into the parasympathetic. And I almost canceled the show tonight, and I was guided to do it. So we're going to keep going. And that's actually about all I really had to say. The last thing I was going to say is something that I've talked about before, is that we have to actually retrain our bodies to be in ease, because most of us have been out of ease for so long that we don't even recognize it. And it was interesting because I crept back into that state, that sympathetic response, that state of gripping. And I didn't notice it till it got bad enough that it was like, it was a little bit like a slap in the face. And then it was like, oh, okay, I'm paying attention. And again, 2 years ago, I might have been like that. I was kind of like that all the time, honestly, 2 years ago. So this work has real life application. If you keep practicing, you will get to the state that I'm at now, where there's a major life crisis happening 3 feet away from me, and I'm in ease as much as I can possibly be. And so that's what we're going to do in our meditation tonight. Stepping out of fear, stepping into flow, returning to that leap of faith process, which is stepping out of your comfort zone, loosening your grip. And I think that's the hardest step. At least for me it is. I don't know. Stepping out of my comfort zone, that's pretty hard too. I'm getting more comfortable with that. I think I'm practicing that enough that that's starting to feel a little more easeful. It's a little less daunting to step out of my comfort zone. So maybe now I'm working on that loosening my grip stage. And then is the hardest of all is that releasing the attachment to the outcome. And that idea that we just keep letting go. Because we are going to grip. We're human beings. We're living a human life. Things are happening in our lives and around us, and we're emotional beings. So we do this work to bring ease to our existence as much as we possibly can. So my intention for the meditation tonight is just to step out of fear and into flow, and to use some sound and to not have any expectation really about where we're going or how it's going to go. I will introduce the idea that if you'd like to use a mantra tonight, especially as the sound is happening, the mantra I would suggest is I release fear and step into flow. If you have your own mantra that comes to you, absolutely use that. Whatever comes to you intuitively is always going to make the most powerful change in your own system. But as your mind wanders, as it does during meditation, as the sound comes into your being, into your energy, just use that mantra as you see fit, or don't. I release fear and step into flow. So let's meditate together. So as usual, find a comfortable position. Don't worry about where you are tonight. You don't have to break up the routine unless you'd like to. Sit up, lie down. Just let your intuition guide you. Try to have some part of your body contacting the ground if you can, whether you're sitting and you've got your feet on the ground, or you're lying on the ground, sitting on the ground. Begin by noticing that connection to the ground. And take a nice deep breath. And as you breathe in, let the belly float out. Draw some energy, draw that fresh, beautiful breath down through the body, through the top of the head. And then sigh it out down into that area of your body that's contacting the earth, whether it's your feet or your bottom or the entire back of your body. Maybe it's the front. And let's just do a few rounds of this type of breathing. Breathing in, drawing that breath, that energy, that light, that love in through the top of the head, drawing it down into the throat. And then sighing it out down through that part of your body that's contacting the ground, starting to come into contact with the earth out of the head here into the body. Using that audible ha sound to vibrate the vagus nerve, bringing oxytocin into your body, inviting your body out of the sympathetic and into the parasympathetic. And again, breathing in, drawing that beautiful light, that energy through the top of the head, into the throat, into the chest and upper back. And then sighing that breath, that energy down through the body, out through whatever part of your body is contacting the earth. And then breathing in, drawing that beautiful energy in through the head and the throat, through the chest, into the belly, and then sighing that out down through the body and out into the earth. Breathing in through the top of the head, drawing it through the neck, through the torso, into the pelvis and the hips, sighing that energy, that beautiful light down into the earth. Drawing that unconditional love and light in through the top of the head, down through the torso and the hips, all the way down to your knees, and then sighing that breath down and out into the earth. Breathing in, drawing that energy down through the top of the head, through the neck, the torso, all the way down now to the ankles and feet. And then sighing that breath, that energy down and out into the earth. Letting yourself feel really supported by the earth here. One more time, breathing in, drawing that energy all the way down through the head, through the body, through the legs and feet, and then sighing that energy out down into the earth. Let yourself feel really planted into the earth here. Notice that connection to the earth strengthening here, feeling your roots growing down into the earth. Feeling that base of your lighthouse supporting you from beneath the earth. And one more time, take a nice big oxytocin breath, drawing energy in through the head and the neck, down through the torso and the hips, all the way down to your feet, and then sighing that breath down and out into the earth. And if you'd like to here, you can introduce that mantra just gently into this flow of energy. I release fear and step into flow. I release fear and step into flow. I release fear and step into flow. If you'd like, you can continue repeating that mantra silently or out loud if it calls to you, or just let it go as we work with some sound here to loosen that fear, to bring that fear energy down, to release that fear energy into the earth where it can be recycled for the highest good. You can use mantra through this process, or you can just allow this sound to come into your space to transform your energy, to allow you to step out of that sympathetic fear response and into the parasympathetic ease response. You deserve to be in ease. No matter what the external situation is, you deserve to be in ease, and you have access to it by using these tools. So again, if you'd like, keep the mantra going. I release fear and step into flow. Or just allow it to release. Allow yourself to be receptive to the energy that's coming into your space now, to this invitation to release fear, to step into flow, to step out of fear and into ease. Notice the shift in your body here. Notice the shift in your mental state and your emotional state. If you're called to make any sounds, if you're called to breathe into any areas of remaining tension, you can do that now. Take a deep oxytocin breath, letting the belly float out, and then sighing that remaining tension out and down into the earth. You can release the mantra or stick with it, or if you'd like to, just a few times, maybe speak it out loud. I release fear and step into flow. I release fear and step into divine flow. I release my ego-based fear and step into divine flow. You are a being of divine energy, and flow and ease are your birthright. Let yourself shed those layers of fear, of tension that have built up around you like a wall, like a shield. Recognizing that you don't need spiritual protection. When you are in flow, you are fully protected, you are fully supported. It is safe to release your fear. It is safe to release the tension from your body. It is safe to allow yourself to relax, to be in ease. You are safe. You are loved. You are light. As you're ready, take a few last deep breaths if you'd like. Recognizing the shift here. Letting go of any pressure, any thoughts of needing to be better at this, any pressure you've placed on yourself about being in ease. There's no pressure here, just a sweet invitation to shed those layers of fear that you no longer need to carry, to wear like a coat. Taking them off and throwing them away and letting your true divine light flow, letting your being shine forth for all to see, letting yourself be in ease even in the most difficult situations. Remembering that is your birthright, remembering that you are loved, remembering that you are light. As you're ready, you can wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe roll your wrists and ankles. If you'd like to, you can allow that top of your head to gently close, but I encourage you to leave it open for the highest good if you're comfortable with that. Allow this beautiful downward flow of energy to continue. Carry this forward with you into the rest of your evening and your week. Carry this grounded sense of heaviness, of ease into the rest of your week. Be fully present in your body and affirm with me, I am fully present in my body. I am fully present in my body and I release fear. I am fully present in my body and I step into flow. Take any last little breaths, any last movements that call to you, and very gently as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you for having the courage to step out of fear and into flow. Have a beautiful rest of your night. Have a free-flowing rest of your week. And I will see you next week for Wind Down Wednesday.